Hello friends, welcome back to Gnanadeep Academy's answer writing program. So here we are discussing UPSC means questions. We are trying to give you the approach for these questions. In today's session, we'll be discussing a question on international relations. In the upcoming sessions that I'll be conducting, we'll carry on with or continue with questions on international relations. So this particular question is from UPSC means 2022. The question is, India is an age-old friend of Sri Lanka. Discuss India's role in the recent crisis in Sri Lanka in the light of the preceding statement. Now, this part of the question also is important to us, that when we are discussing the answer, we should be discussing this answer in light of this statement. So, to make this clear, we'll have to understand the locus and focus of the question. Every question that we are discussing in this series, we are trying to understand the locus and focus of the question so that you get used to this kind of approach in writing answers. Now, the focus part in this question is India's role in the recent crisis in Sri Lanka. Whereas, when you're writing this part of the answer, in the background, you should also be focusing on the locus, that is, India is an age-old friend of Sri Lanka. So, the maximum part of your answer should be focusing on India's role and not how India is an age-old friend of Sri Lanka. Okay, now how this is done, let's see this in the body of the answer. Okay, so before we go to the answer, the first part of the answer is the introduction. How would you introduce this answer? Now also we should not be forgetting that the word limit that we are supposed to use is only 150 words for this particular answer. Okay. Now here you can focus on the cultural, religious and linguistic relations of Sri Lanka and India. The historical, cultural, religious and linguistic relations. Because the question states that India and Sri Lanka are age-old friends. Okay. Then you also can write about recent happenings or the approach that the government of India is following in the neighborhood. That is the security and growth for all in the region. That is Sagar initiative. Now this is a very important point. If you want to bring current affairs to your answer, this can make a very good start to your answer. That is the Sagar initiative. Okay. Then also the neighborhood first approach. This is also important. You can start your answer by giving example of how India puts its neighbors in the first place. Okay. Or what India is doing to tackle its image of big brother in the neighborhood. Okay. So I think Sagar initiative is a very important initiative that you can mention in the introduction of the answer. Okay. Now going to the body of the answer. What can you write in the body of the answer? Now here, because the word limit is only 150 words, you should focus on what exactly India has, in what way India has helped Sri Lanka. So there are four prominent points that we'll be discussing. When it was about crisis in Sri Lanka, India was the first responder. Now this also is an important change, right? India was the first responder in the neighborhood. Okay. Now, when India was responding to this crisis, India was neutral in its approach. This is again important. India, there were proper care was taken to see that the help is neutral. It is not pro to some party or against any party. The assistance that was provided was neutral, because this is what India is accused of in most of the aid missions that it carries out. So, this help was neutral. The second important help that India gave was humanitarian assistance, that is the medical assistance. Okay, this I'm not giving you the facts and figures here. This is only the approach what you should be writing. Okay, so we have given millions of dollars under humanitarian aid. Okay, that figures you can mention here. Then financial assistance, we have given a loan to the tune of almost 3.5 billion US dollars. Plus also we have given a credit line of almost 500 million US dollars. Okay. So these facts and figures will have to come in an answer, but I'm not, putting these here right now. Then assistance in tourism sector and agriculture sector also. See, Sri Lankan economy is, tourism is a very important part of Sri Lanka's economy. So India had also given aid to revive the tourism sector in Sri Lanka and also a very big amount of financial help for redevelopment or reviving the agriculture sector back. Okay, so these are the 4 points, the 4 different types of assistance that India provided in times of crisis. So I think this is sufficient in the body here. Taking into account the word limit, these many points will be sufficient. Now the last part of the answer, that is the conclusion. Now, by giving this help, what are we trying to achieve? Okay, keeping the broader picture of international relations in your mind, it is very important when you are dealing with Sri Lanka. Tackling the Chinese influence in Sri Lanka is very important aspect for India. Okay, so by responding first, by trying to give financial aid, what India is doing, India is trying to counter the Chinese influence in Sri Lanka. Okay, also the Tamil issue, we still have some irritants when it comes to the Tamil issue between India and Sri Lanka. Okay, then we also are trying to secure the Indian interests. Okay, we have a lot of other strategic issues that we have with Sri Lanka, right? So we are trying to overcome these or counter the influence of China or Chinese presence in Sri Lanka. Okay, so this is how you can end your answer. This is the conclusion you can write. Okay, so this being a very short answer, I'm not trying to give you more points in this because the question here is specific. Okay, so there's no point in discussing more points under each of these heads. Okay, so this is all for this question. Thank you and have a nice day.